The light of different colors reflected from the glasses, and the music slowly but surely lifted my mood. After a work week, my 3 buddies and I finally got together to unwind. I wasn't prepared for the meetup, so I came straight from work in my office white shirt and black jeans. We didn't spend much time choosing a place, so we entered the first bar or club we stumbled upon, as long as it was lively. After the first shot, I finally relaxed. My boss had given me a hard time this week, so I could only unwind now. At the bar counter, I chatted with Anton about how we would soon become rich and start our own business, while all these slave drivers would die from envy. Meanwhile, Egor and Kolya stood behind us, eyeing potential partners for the evening and sipping Long Island iced teas. Sometimes in the middle of a conversation, I just tuned out and enjoyed the noise of the crowd, the music, and the feeling that tomorrow I could finally sleep in. I liked this atmosphere. I liked being in a state of blur. Playing some pop music, I finished my White Russian, and suddenly, I noticed that Egor and Kolya were missing. They had disappeared somewhere. Anton was already dozing off behind the bar, so I decided to go and find them alone. Pushing through the crowd, I finally spotted them in a distant corner of the room, where Kolya was arguing with some guy, and they were already lightly pushing each other, clearly not getting along. I immediately understood the problem. Kolya sometimes goes too far with his pickup lines, and this lady standing behind them seemed offended by something. As I was the most sober, and these two were about to kill each other, I decided to help them resolve the conflict. Standing between them, I introduced myself, and the guy, with a seemingly angry face, was taken aback as if he no longer understood what was happening. With a gesture, I signaled Kolya to step back and calm down, while my new acquaintance Eugene, as it turned out to be his name, was actually a pretty decent guy. You see, Kolya did indeed go overboard with his choice of words for an introduction, and Eugene couldn't tolerate such behavior towards his lady, and that's how the whole commotion began. Eugene was drunk, and it took some effort to calm him down, but Kolya, who was standing behind me, occasionally continued to throw biting phrases, so I had to start all over again. Rock music started playing. Everything began quickly. Returning from their adventures, Egor noticed me talking to Eugene and thought he needed to save me. And he is an impulsive person, so without any warning, he flew in with all his might into the unsuspecting Eugene's face. Bam! Screaming, shouting, glasses breaking. Eugene wasn't alone, and his friends finally decided to check where their ally had disappeared. Now they were coming for me, and one silhouette held me from behind, while the other punched me in the face and stomach. The blows rang in my ears, and I had to react quickly. I tried to break free from the hold, but the heavy blows to my kidneys hindered me. Kolya helped me by knocking down the guy who was beating me, and I managed to free my hands from the hold and quickly retrieved my pepper spray, something I never go without in such places. Without thinking for long, I sprayed it into the face of my assailant, who winced and shouted, and I kicked him into the dancing crowd. People were drunk, so they just scattered and didn't pay much attention to our brawl. I looked around and helped Kolya, who by that time was being choked by a sweet gentleman. My vision was blurry, and I was very hot, grasping for air like a fish, trying to figure out what to do. We were fighting in a place where there were almost no people, an oasis of freedom behind the dancing crowd. My opponent decided to take advantage of my daze and pounced on me, knocking me down, and it seemed something cracked in my back. I hit my head and endured multiple blows. Catching a moment of respite from my opponent, I reached for a bottle lying nearby and smashed it on the head of the giant leaning over me. Apparently, he didn't care, but the second bottle, which I smashed on his head as Kolya, who had come to help, held him, seemed to have bought him a ticket to dreamland. The shards also hit me, cutting my cheek, but it wasn't that bad. I got up and shook myself off. We checked each other with Kolya to ensure we were both okay. All this time, Egor and Eugene were having fun and bashing each other with everything at hand. Kolya and I tried to break them up, but both were furious. Kolya took Egor onto himself, dragged him away forcefully, and slapped him in the face to bring him back to his senses. I held my new friend Eugene as tightly as I could, not knowing how to calm him down. He yelled that we didn't have much time left because his girl went to get the security from this wonderful place. I didn't want to do it, but I threw him towards the nearby tables with all my strength while he was still recovering. His friends finally came to his aid, so I knew it was time to leave. I went up to Kolya and Egor and said we had to get out of there immediately. Pushing through the crowd, I saw a familiar girl with two muscle-bound guys in tow, pointing at us and being furious. I saw the security guard reaching for his pepper spray and heading towards us, but my hand was faster. I pulled out my spray that I picked up after my previous skirmish and immediately sprayed the first guard, and then threw it into the face of the second one, with Kolya, who had come to help, as witness. It seemed to soothe him, and I heard him mutter something about the cops while we ran away. We ran as fast as we could, no one seemed to be chasing us. When I was finally sure of that, I fell to the ground and told my friends that I needed to rest. My body felt like glass. I thought I would soon break into a bunch of shards, just like that bottle that knocked out my tormentor. I took out a cigarette and lit it. My company had found some cool girlfriends, now they were laughing at the fact that we survived, while I looked at the rising sun. A new day was beginning, and Anton was probably still asleep on the bar counter.